How's it going, everyone? Saturday. Today's Saturday. So, but this probably won't get out on Saturday. But anyways, since it's Saturday, it's actually the Sabbath day, right? I mean, technically it is the Sabbath day. This is the day you're not supposed to be working, causing others to work. You're supposed to keep it holy, and otherwise, if you're out doing something, it's supposed to be for the good of each other, right? Easier said than done, I understand, because this is the world, this is the way the devil has set up his kingdom, opposite. And the further we go along in it, the more opposite, whacked out everything becomes. Anyways, so since it's one, I got quite an attitude. I understand that comes out sometimes in these videos, but it is what it is. But props to everyone that gets over that. And sometimes I get into talking, discussing things like I am on here, and things don't come out exactly the way I mean them. Like I have an opinion about the way they're teaching the rapture, and I got another video that it may not get published, but if it does, the way I came off about that, maybe came out a little bit wrong, right? When I talk about some of these things, I mean them as in the way they are teaching them today. It's just like the rapture is going to be different than how it's being taught. It's not going to be that way. Anyways, whatever. But then, sometimes I get into the religious topics on here, and I'm certainly not trying to be holier than thou, pretend I am, or nothing like that. I'm just, these thoughts come about because of the way you see the world around you, the way you see the things going, right? And the fact of the matter is, the times are upon us, and these things need to be set straight, because it is time to, those who want to get on the boat need to be getting on the boat properly, for lack of better terms, right? It's coming, and we need to make sure we're right and that we're ready. And so the best thing I could do for my fellow man is to try to give a understanding the way I see it. Not that I'm totally correct on stuff, but maybe it'll get people to open their eyes to some things, right? Because as I said, hey, like I said, today's a Sabbath day, so we'll keep it a little towards the religious end of it today. Let's consider John 14 today, right? Like, right now, the way my setup is, whatever, I'm working on it, and maybe we'll get into some of this. And I'm open to debate people too, as long as it's all respectful and stuff. And I like to set up my lives to get some people on here with their opinions too, right? But we need to consider some things, because a lot of it's wrong. Okay, like the Sabbath day today, right? Today's technically the Sabbath, and you can find some churches that will omit that. But then they act like, they confirm it, but then they're like it's no big deal. And things get twisted up, right? It is a big deal. It's one of the 10 Commandments. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. For the Lord worked 6 days and rested on the seventh, right? That seventh day is Saturday. And I'm not part of any denomination it's just, that's the way it is. And you can even get churches that aren't pushing that to admit it. But then they act like, well, it's no big deal though. And it is a big deal. It's one of the commandments. And every day we're breaking the commandments, right? And we keep acting like it's no big deal. And there's these big arguments about, about Christianity, a divide now, whether it's faith-based or works-based, right? And if you follow those arguments, and I'm not trying to cut down on either side or anything like that, but if you follow those arguments, let's break it down. It's both based, right? If you have the true faith, you will have the works, or you will consider those works more mindfully, right? Because like I said, I'm not here to condemn people on because of Saturday. You do it however you got to do it. It's easier said than done. At the end of the day, it's what's in your heart, right? But this thing about faith, the way it's taught mostly anymore, is, well, you just believe and accept in Jesus, and that's all it takes, right? So read through John 14, okay? And, read it through. Instead of me breaking it out here, sometimes I should do it that way. I've done that in the past, whatever, but instead of me breaking it out and reading from it, just read it for yourself, right? It's important to take not just a verse, but take it all into context, right? But let's focus on, that's why I'm saying read through John 14, the whole part of it, right? It's not that, right? That's one of the problems these days. People go to church and then that's all it takes. Then they leave church and they're sinning. They leave church and suddenly they're gossiping. Suddenly they're doing this or doing that. That all the stuff that isn't right? Bad mouthing somebody else, gossiping, just lying, just all these things that have become no big deal, and they're all part of the commandments, the real law, the real true law. Because and I'm, like I said, I'm as guilty as the next person of some things, right? But these are the things we're supposed to be obeying, right? Not your local speed limit, stuff like that, whatever. But so let's focus on right now John 14:15. Jesus says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments, right? And this is, you can go through the whole thing, we need to read it for ourselves and not just take a church running us through it and then leaving church and, the rest of it's, we'll come back to God on next Sunday, right? He's supposed to be a part of our lives every day, okay? But we've got this, but we've, it's been built up on it's okay to twist your values for work. It's okay to, break these commandments for this reason or that reason. Anyways, so just consider that. This is one of the verses that you'll see these verses posted a lot of times because it sounds so inspirational. It makes you feel so good, right? But how often do you see John 14:15 quoted, right? If you love me, keep my commandments. You will keep my commandments, right? You can find different parts of John 14 quoted out there often. You find certain verses quoted often, right? Whatever you ask of me, I will do, right? And Jesus says these kinds of things. But what we don't realize is the context, okay? Yeah, he's going to do those, whatever you ask, as long as it is within his will, right? As long as it isn't violating his commandments, violating his will, right? But then more than that, read through more of the Bible, right? As you should. No matter where it is, wherever you're hearing these things from, you should read it for yourself in full context to make sure that's the understanding you are getting from it, right? But look at, through most of the times, there's a few exceptions here and there, but most of the times where Jesus did the healing, right? Healing people for this and that. And what would he say to them? You're healed. Go and sin no more. Go and sin no more. That's what he would tell them constantly after they were healed of whatever. But because, you know, if we take it the way it's overall being painted, it is like Jesus was just coming around healing people, just show off and heal people and stuff like that. Not, I mean, they don't say he was showing off, but, you know, it's way more than that, right? He healed them with the expectation. He healed them with the expectation. Now you're healed. I did this for you. Now you go sin no more. You follow my way, right? And these days, they'll get, you know, these people got their miracle and they remembered it forever. These days, we're so sidetracked with everything. God will perform a miracle for you today and tomorrow you forget it. Or you know, you're begging him for something and by tomorrow you forget it. So a lot of people don't understand their prayers ain't getting answered because where their heart is, right? Because you are expected to go and sin no more, right? So either you are not, you know, there's a lot of people with a whole lot, they feel like they got a whole lot of faith. They look like they got a whole lot of faith, right? But then they're wondering why certain prayers ain't getting answered. Well, are you truly keeping his commandments? Are you truly, you know, and this it ain't about judging other people, it's about judging ourselves. And, you know, because let's give you an example of what goes on in people's lives. Maybe I'll show a clip, maybe I won't, but, you know, I show it all the time from stuff of our city council here. And they had the one episode on the one council meeting, they read off somebody's email where they were like, I don't know, cussing them out or something and bitching about the water. Was one of the things, the water. And several things, whatever. I could probably almost guess who sent that. But but anyways, but then they kind of put on like, oh, well, where are you? Why ain't you here at the city council meeting? Why are you just sending the email? Which, you know, I get it. I understand that because I agree. Like, if that's me, I got stuff I want to bring up to city council, but I'm going to do it in person, right? So whoever that is, but I get it. These people don't want repercussions or whatever. And so, you know, so they send these anonymous messages to them. But then look at how they act about it. Okay, let's consider city council meeting. Every meeting they start out with prayer. They have a pastor from wherever stop in and pray, and they started out with prayer. That's pretty honorable, right? Showing their faith, right? Probably going to church on Sunday or Wednesday, whenever, right? That's pretty admirable out of the city council, right? Now let's get back to this email that was sent to them, and because the whole attitude about it, right? He's like, I don't remember the whole thing, but it was something about, they did mention something about the water. And he's like, you can come here and address this right in person to addressing that email, right? And one reason people don't is because they just it's because their attitude, right? And because the thing is, he's like, I don't see a problem with the water. I drink it with a smirk, right? And let's consider that. If I give my dog, I fill up his bowl with this water from the city water, he don't want to drink it. When we're walking and like a day like today, there's these little puddles, he wants to drink that stuff. And I look around and these animals, they're drinking that stuff. They're not here at the park trying to get up on that fountain and drink that city water. That is significant, right? The animals, you trust the animals with this stuff, okay? Our water is poisoned and you can taste it, okay? I very rarely drink this city water. I don't want nothing to do with it, right? And you can taste it in the water, you can smell it in the water. I'm just saying, okay? Oh, I'll drink the water, do you? I don't know, but you know, this attitude about it, right? Now, just consider that, right? You're brushing off the citizens' concerns, and it's your job to take up these concerns, right? They're wondering about the poison in the water. I'm just saying. Now, get back to on track here with John 14. If you love me, you'll keep my commandments. I'm just using this as an example, and I'm not sitting here trying to put judgment on anyone, right? I'm just saying, here's an example from the way it looks, okay? You start out in prayer, you're letting everyone know where your faith is, right? But what are your works? Because at the end of the day, your job as a government agent overrides your faith. Tell me I'm wrong. Your membership into the Masons overrides your faith. Tell me I'm wrong. This is a question you have to ask yourself. We all have to ask ourselves, right? Am I doing my life the way that God commands me? Am I following God's commandments? Because if I'm not, then I don't love Jesus, right? I mean, you just got to consider that. Jesus says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. He gives us all this. He loves us, right? And treats us. That'd be the best brother you ever had, right? The best, whatever. Couldn't get a better friend. Honorable, all this stuff. He understands, well, of course, he's God, right? So it's easier for him. It's not. He's showing us. He came down here into the hard times and showed us it can be done, right? It's the context in which they teach this stuff that people aren't getting the whole gist of it. And, you know, so they take it in on whatever day they go to church, but they have Bibles. And, you know, I was guilty of this for a long time. But that Bible never gets opened, right? Open it up and for yourself, and also make sure you're being taught, right? And go for more than just what you're learning into the church. Open that up and get some understanding, right? If you love me, you'll keep my commandments. And I'm just saying, as that example, is that how Jesus would act to someone's concern, whatever it is, in these city council meetings? The thing is, if you go to, and that's just an example, right? This is in all our lives. Whatever it is, you be a cop, you be a public servant, you be a normal somebody just working. Are you having to break commandments because of that job? Then, you know, but we don't want to, because that's the hard road. Well, we don't want to understand that. Just different things like that, right? So you take this whole example. Is that really the way you address that? Knowing that there is poison being put in this water? Knowing that that stuff isn't safe to drink? Really, not in large amounts. but you'll go along with it and just brush it off and smirk it off and laugh with everybody because, well, that's what the rest of them are doing. You don't want to. Meanwhile, all I'm saying is, what kind of blasphemy is that? You start the whole meeting out in prayer, but then you don't want to take it and approach. It don't matter if they're standing there in front of you or they're sending an email. These are concerns of the citizens, and they should be addressed properly, not brushed off, not smirked off. And as I said, that's just an example. How is it all of us need to take a look at ourselves and understand what he's saying there. Yes, it's faith-based, but if your faith is proper, if you truly have proper faith, then you will have the works, right? And you will understand, and you take the time to understand the way Jesus was, right? And the things he said. Read through John chapter 14, right? And focus on verse 14, 15, right? Verse 15. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. Okay, but all these people, you know what I'm saying, there's way too many people that it's easy, it's easy, especially the way they got this world set up now. And, I take a look at my own self as many times as I can. It's so ridiculous anymore, but I want to keep myself in check. And that's what we're supposed to do. We can't just brush it off and act like, well, this excuse or that excuse makes it okay, right? When we do that, then you're not taking God seriously. All these constraints around us these days at one time did not exist. And we'll get into some other things where they're, it's possible maybe we're already in the little season. I don't know. But anyways, they make it harder and harder. But we need to realize how important it is. There is no excuse, whether it be because you enjoy doing something or because everyone else is doing it or because your job expects you. There's no, you need to keep his commandments at all times, through all things, that the light of his Father may shine through you, that they will come and abode with you, right? Us. As I say, I'm not ever judging anyone. I'm always taking the same look at my own self. Just consider this stuff today. And otherwise, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. We appreciate it very much. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep all of his commandments, for that is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. See ya.